today's Monday movie news, why you shouldn't care about Kevin Costner's new Western bombing at the box office.
Viggo Mortensen talks about potentially appearing in the new Gollum movie.
And why Netflix have already messed things up with Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Hello everyone, what is up? It's me, Ewan, that's Gareth, you're watching What Culture, and it's time to give you a fresh cup of content nerd to start off the week. And we want to take it first with Horizon: An American Saga Part 1, because Gareth, I saw this movie over the weekend. If anyone follows me on Twitter, you'll know that I've been very excited about this. Westerns are my jam. I'm a big fan of the Costner, and I loved it. Wonderful movie, but it's not doing so hot at the box office. And as is the case with a lot of movies that come out in 2024, there's already kind of a rush to, kind of do the autopsy on the movie by the time that it's come out on opening weekend. And I don't think it's a surprise for anyone that Horizon isn't doing that well box office wise. Westerns have not been a force in Hollywood for a very long time. But I kind of wanted to talk to you today about why this doesn't really matter that much. And it's mainly because, this is a self-financed movie from Kevin Costner. It's a huge passion project. He's been working on this thing for 20 years now. And while obviously, we never want to see a movie fail, and I will always be here for, I want good movies to do well. It's not as, the story isn't as kind of usual as it would be for another box office bomb. So I've got a couple of different things here. Obviously, Costner has self-financed the movie. We've got part 2 coming out in August. The third one is currently being filmed. The fourth is already written. So in the grand scheme of things, this project is already paid for. It's already getting made. I know Costner has plans to do a couple of others after that, but as it exists right now, the movie not doing well on opening weekend, well, I'm sure kind of, maybe will hurt Costner's pride just a little bit, or maybe he doesn't care because it's a passion project and he just got it made and it's deeply personal, so that's great. Overall, in that sense, it doesn't matter. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about is that movies don't live or die on the opening weekend. Now, we've had a lot of stuff this year. Obviously, Furiosa did not open well. The Fall Guy didn't open well. But in the case of the latter, it showed a lot of legs because it was kept in cinemas over, a period of several weeks. And I think, Gareth, you probably agree with me here that the most people go to see Horizon in the cinemas, they're not the opening weekend crowd. They're not like, they don't have spoiler anxiety the way, Marvel fans will have for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, it's not the kind of movie where it's not a movement, do you know what I mean? It's not something where it's going to come out opening weekend and you're just going to get waves and waves of social media. You want to get swept away in the hype. You want to be the first to know so you can get involved with the discourse. It's not that kind of movie. It's the kind of movie where you'll see it's out. You'll probably know when it's going to drop and you go, okay, I'll put it down in my calendar there. 3 weeks after it's released, I'll go and sit in my own time in a nice peaceful cinema. It's a vibes kind of movie from the looks of it anyway, where it's a big thing, it's epic. And people who do enjoy the westerns, yeah, they tend to do things in their own time anyway. Like they're not being rushed in there. So, like you said, it's not going to be a movie that's probably it hasn't just completely exploded straight away at the box office, but it could be one that has legs. Like I'm not super well up to date when it comes to how westerns have done over the long term, over the last couple of years. But this kind of flick, but I think the word of mouth alone, because people already are talking about it for better and for worse. People are. This is a movie that very much in the conversation right now, and that in itself is quite impressive because, like you said, there's a lot of movies that are out there in the cinemas currently. I think A Quiet Place, the Day One just dropped as well. All these big movies are dropping right now, but this is still a massive talking point within the movie fandom right now. So that can only be a good thing in my mind.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so only grossing 11 million. The budget is 100 million, which is, quite big. It's a big epic western. But like you say, it's got its own niche within the space. People going to see Horizon, by and large, I don't think will be overly fussed about going to see A Quiet Place, and maybe vice versa. There's probably a lot of genre siloing going on there. But by and large, I do think that while I don't necessarily think this is going to overcome that kind of initial opening weekend slum, I do think there is potential for this movie to have some legs. Get a good galloping speed going, like it's a cavalry horse.
I think a big thing with these kind of movies as well, it's about legacy, a lot of it. And I think this is, like you say, it's a passion project. It's something that Costner's put his heart and soul into. He won't be sitting there going, if this movie doesn't make bank on the first weekend, it's a failure. He'll be going, I want to see how this movie just sits in the overarching story of westerns, really, of modern westerns. It could be a movie that ushers in a new era of westerns, for all we know, and I think that's more important to Costner from what I can see.
Yeah, no, that was my last point that I wanted to make here, is that I think, like, generally speaking, there's been way too much box office discourse about cinema this year, in terms of, for me personally, again, like, I always want people to go see good movies. We always want good movies to perform well, because it tells Hollywood we want to see more of the good stuff. We don't just want the big old bucket of slop, you know? But regardless, like you say, this is one of those where Costner's work speaks for itself, and this, like, you're totally right, this movie narratively is about legacy and generational stuff, and I think Costner is really kind of cementing his legacy as a authoritative voice in the Western genre with this movie. It is so comprehensive, Gareth. It's juggling so many different facets within that genre, like the cavalry western, kind of like looking at the myth-making approach of cinema and kind of, you know, recontextualizing the idea of like westward expansion and really taking a kind of matter-of-fact approach to things, but still having that kind of sweeping style to it. It's a really, really beautiful movie. I had like such a great time with it at the movies yesterday. But yeah, like in terms of box office, it doesn't matter. Like we know movies that have failed in the past that have gone on to become widely acclaimed as one of the greatest efforts in their genre. A really good example in the Western space would be Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate, which is commonly held as the movie that, you know, destroyed the, you know, the kind of the free driven time for auteur cinema in the 70s, and kind of crashed that freedom down when it bombed at the box office. But today that movie has been reappraised as one of the greatest westerns, quite rightly, as one of the greatest westerns ever made. So I think just, yeah, reiterating that, you know, movies don't live or die on their opening weekend. I'm just happy this thing got made. I'm sure Kevin Costner is very happy he's finally got this thing made. And roll on parts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If Kevin Costner, as long as Kevin Costner keeps making westerns, I'm going to be seeing all of them.
This is it. If
I've
they
got
make
Yeehaw
it,
fever.
people will come. If they make it, Ewan will come. This is
Exactly.
the way it is. Okay, out of context, that's going to just do loads of numbers on this video, so moving
What
on.
tarnation?
Right, so, okay, next thing we need to talk about, another big story that's been dropping over the last, like, month or so, obviously, is that we are going to have another Lord of the Rings movie. I know, after so much time, we are going to have, like, a spin-off prequel thing. It's called The Hunt for Gollum, and Andy Serkis is going to be directing this bad boy. He's going to be returning as Gollum, and it's been one of those. As soon as you hear Lord of the Rings now, after all these years, a lot of people are going to go, well, who else is coming back if Andy Serkis? Can we get all the cast back and just do the next chapter of Lord of the Rings? That's just like what people's brains are going to do. So, a lot of people have obviously been asked about this in interviews, and Viggo Mortensen was asked. I think he's been asked a few times at this point. I don't know, my brain's just making that up, but I feel like he has been asked this question a lot. But he was asked in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter recently. They put, your work as an actor also continues after this movie. So I think he was talking about another movie that he's been doing recently. And he said, could we maybe see you in one of the new Lord of the Rings movies? And he said he'd give the best response of anyone you're going to hear in this kind of thing. He said, I haven't read a script, so I don't know. The script is the most important thing to me unless I'm broke. I have no money and I'm looking to get any job. So it depends. So pretty much.
I love how honest this is. And Gareth, you know, on the script being good part, I have a really maybe deeply upsetting question to ask, because I'm not sure how many people are excited about a new Lord of the Rings movie, especially one focusing on Gollum. After the Gollum game last year, I don't think the world has had Gollum fever since 2003. You know, the really good operative part of that answer was if the script is good. Can you get a good script out of a Gollum movie that is interceding with the original Lord of the Rings movies? Because I have my I have my doubts. As much as I love Andy Serkis, this is a movie that instantly shot into my this does not need to be made kind of bracket.
I feel like they must be aware, like that's going to be the reaction of a lot of people at this point. They're going to be like, why are you touching our precious thing? Our precious thing! Well, don't touch it, precious! I think that's what a lot of people are going to be thinking right now. So
That was I was gonna ask you to pop a Gollum, and hearing that, it was like a cross between Gollum and Gurgi from the Black Cauldron, which I'm so happy that you did that now.
That was my intention, Ewan, completely. Yeah, I had that ready to go. But yeah, I've got a few little quotes here from what they've been speaking about. I think that this was when Peter Jackson and Andy Serkis were talking to Deadline recently about it, and they were just saying a lot of the things about what the story could entail. So it's like going into the backstory, really, of Smeagol is what they were looking at. They said they really want to explore his backstory. This was Peter Jackson saying they really want to explore his backstory and delve into those parts of his journey we didn't have time to cover in the earlier films. And so he said it's too soon to know who will cross his path, but suffice to say, we will take our lead from Professor Tolkien. And Andy Serkis pretty much said something similar. I think he went into it and said he doesn't want to commit to anything right now. I mean, because it's so raw and wriggling, we are just literally having very early state script discussions and ideas of exactly where and how we're going to drop anchor with the character and his journey and how he is or comes into contact with other characters and the characters that we know and don't know. So still, I'd hate to say anything that's going to commit us at this point, but it's literally all up for grabs. So it sounds like they're literally going, we're going to do this film, what are we going to do with it? Something. Really.
Two things there. I really hope that they just do stupid stuff like they'll have what Gollum was getting up to in every scene he doesn't show up in Fellowship of the Ring for. Because there was that bit in Fellowship where like Frodo's like, who's that, Gandalf? And Gandalf's there like, oh, it's a creepy little guy called Gollum. I hope they cut then to Gollum being like, oh no. And secondly, this sounds a lot like the bit in the Simpsons Spectacular Spin-Off Showcase where Troy McClure's like, Chief Wiggum might check in on his best friends, the Simpsons, because they might show up. It's so labored. All of this feels so labored to me. I am not sold, but I'm glad that Viggo Mortensen can have can still be candid in his answers about it.
Get paid, Viggo. Go get paid, man.
Absolutely.
Go get paid.
We want to see everyone making their bank.
Go get paid. That's all I care about. As long as my Aragorn gets paid, I don't care.
But yeah, the last story we have for you today is regarding Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Now, I don't know about you, Gareth, but I've been quietly really excited about this one. When it was initially announced, I was kind of like, here we go. Another legacy sequel for a franchise that's not had any new release in like 30 odd years. Oh, Netflix are producing it as well. Oh, good. Oh, golly. And then the first trailer came out and I was like, this actually looks really fun. And the second trailer came out and I was like, I'm even more intrigued now. And over the past couple of weeks, we've been getting some pretty interesting kind of not official like reviews or like, you know, preview kind of impressions, whatever, but buzz is starting to generate around Axel F. I think there was like a really good tweet that was doing the rounds last week, basically calling it Eddie Murphy's Creed. And if it's able, I don't think it will be as good as Creed, because Creed is the best legacy sequel ever. It's an amazing movie, second only to the original Rocky in that franchise, I would say. But if it's hitting anywhere near those vibes, that's pretty exciting. Now, the other thing here is that Beverly Hills Cop, huge franchise, classic Jerry Bruckheimer, Don Simpsoning, you know, big 80s action, Martin Brest right at the original, you get the big Tony Scott Sheen in the sequel. Third, we don't talk about. But you'd expect a franchise like that to get some big screen time. Just look at Bad Boys, you know, Bad Boys Ride or Die, Bad Boys for Life. Both of those movies were at the movies and they made a lot of money.
Top Gun Maverick.
Look at Maverick. But Netflix, being Netflix, is not giving Axel F a theatrical run in 2024. Gareth, this strikes me as the stupidest thing they could be doing with a franchise of this stature.
Yeah, it just seems so odd. I mean, I've seen the first one. I'm not the biggest Beverly Hills Cop guy out there. I enjoyed the first one, but I've heard so much weird, not weird discourse, but like it's a bit up and down divisive.
2 is great. Two is great. I mean, I will bat for 2.
Okay, well, you've inspired me. I'll go for 2, but I heard 3's not worth a look at. So that's made me kind of go, okay, I've seen my first one. I'm happy with that. But I was somebody who looked at the teaser trailer. I thought, it's okay. And then I literally, before we came on to this, I thought, okay, I'll give it another chance. I'll look at the official trailer, and I was in. I was like, I would watch the hell out of this movie in a cinema. I'd be so there. Like, I'd be, boom, plug me in. Let's go do this thing. But Netflix, for whatever reason, just don't see the value in throwing this thing out into a cinema just for a month. For a month, like, see what you can bring in. Like, if you were just going to put it on to Netflix anyway at some point in the future, like, what have you got to lose? I don't understand it. And now it's just going to go on to Netflix. People will probably get hyped about it for a couple of days, and then it'll just get lost. It'll just get lost in that streaming service. It'll just get lost in the tabs, and that'll be it. And it'll just make me feel really sad inside, and I don't like that.
It's the same story. You know, we were talking the other day about how streaming services are kind of making us all develop worse habits as viewers and moviegoers. And I mentioned in that, you know, Hitman only got like a really brief theatrical run. The Killer by David Fincher, The Killer last year, only got a brief theatrical run. The same with The Irishman. Knives Out, a Glass Onion, a Knives Out story, or whatever the hell, they should have just called it Glass Onion. You know, a sequel to a movie that grossed hundreds of millions of dollars in 2019. That only got a theatrical run of like a few days. It strikes me as leaving money on the table, and for me, it comes across as even more cynical and almost a little bit sinister that we're trying to recalibrate audience viewing habits away from the pictures, which is where, by the way, most of the funding and money and box office grosses, how the movie industry sustains itself, largely comes from theatrical releases. It strikes me as very much the serpent eating its own tail of, you know, well, you do Beverly Hills Cop, you can just watch it straight at home. It really, really frustrates me. And you know, that's not a slight against the director or like, you know, the project itself. I'm really looking forward to it. But I think, you know, if anyone deserves to be on the big screen, it's Eddie Murphy, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's ridiculous that we can have a franchise this beloved, this seminal in terms of that 80s, one of those 80s cultural touchstone moments, that this is now straight to streaming.
You don't get it after seeing that. So how well some of these legacy sequels have done, just like you're saying, just over the last couple of months, you just think Netflix will go, oh yes, we'll have a bit of that, please. We'll have a bit of that. Put the big Netflix logo on there. Yeah, we'll crack on with that. But no, I cannot understand it. Don't think I ever will.
No, the heat is well and truly on in terms of my blood is up, it's boiling over all these streaming things. But yeah, I want to throw all these stories back out to you in the comments down below. Did you go see Horizon over the weekend? Did you love it as much as me? And do you care about its box office woes? Curious to hear your thoughts on that one. Also on Lord of the Rings, are you looking forward to Gollum 2, Electric Boogaloo? Do you want Viggo Mortensen to get his bag? Let me know down there. And also on Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Do you care that it's going straight to streaming? Or would you much rather that it would be on the big screen? Let us all know. Drop the video a like if you enjoyed it. And subscribe to What Culture for more tasty, newsy treats like this every single day. Either way, I've been Ewan. This was Gareth. And we will catch you next time.